Hey everybody, Sean here. We got a special episode for you today. Technically Hollyweird, I guess. We got we hooked up with Jeff Daniel Phillips to promote his movie Kirsten Baja. Had a great conversation. I had a blast. Way different than I ever imagined. Way different. Super cool guy though, and I really enjoyed the interview. So check that out. And producer Lexi actually did a piece on Bloody Disgusting, kind of expanding on the interview. So head on over to bloodydisgusting.com to check out her interview over there. Great interview. Hope you enjoy. Again, for those of you just tuning in, Joe is on hiatus for the foreseeable future. So there's that. We are going to be, by the time this drops, this Saturday, salemhorror.com. We're going to be at Salem Horror Fest, 6:30 p.m. We are doing Troll 2. It's over at the Salem Public Access building. So come check that out. And then after that movie, we're going to head on over to Bit Bar directly across the street, just jog over for 9:30 for horror trivia. We got our prizes ready. We got a bunch of giveaways too for the live show, and Joe will be there. So come say adios to Joe. The ticket sales are offline now, but from what I've been told, there's going to be some available at the door. I don't know how many, so you might want to get there early if you want them. And yeah, so do that. Super excited. So far, I'm stoked on what the turnout's looking like. Some old friends coming to visit. Troll 2, though, it's going to be a banger. I got a lot of surprises planned for it. So make sure you come out to that Saturday, May 3rd, salemhorror.com. Get all the information there and head on over. We'll be at Salem Access at 6:30. You could probably check us walking the streets of Salem Friday and Saturday. So anyway, do that. That's all I've got. We have the Jeff Daniel Phillips interview this week. And then after that, I'm not sure what we're doing. There's been some ideas tossed around. I've got some guests lined up, maybe. Hopefully to do some episodes with some friends and things like that. So yeah, so stay tuned to see what we got going. We got Hollyweird. Oh, and when this episode drops, it's gonna say like Hollyweird 5. All the other Hollyweird episodes are on our Patreon, so make sure you go check that out. And I have a new one dropping this week with producer Lexi and I talking about Dexter. She's been binging it, so I started diving in. I think we talked mostly about season 1, but just the show overall, and it was really fun. So I'm actually excited to keep doing that. I just finished season 2, so. Anyway, you got Jeff Daniel Phillips coming up. Enjoy, and I'll see you on down the road. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special episode of The Horror Show. We have with us today Jeff Daniel Phillips for a special interview. Jeff, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. I'm gonna be honest, a little starstruck. You are. We did this past summer. We did a Summer of Rob, and we covered all the Rob Zombie movies, and it was just so fun, and it was cool to watch you like come into that universe sort of
Yeah.
thing, the Rob world, and then you stuck, and it was like, oh yeah, this guy is a total Rob guy. Like this guy is it for sure. Like you meshed with that world of his like perfectly.
Yeah, I got lucky and I had a good run and yeah, it's been great working with him, and he's always been very collaborative and very supportive, and I mean, I'm grateful for all the opportunities he's given me over the years. I mean, great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I really wanted to talk to you, and why we brought you on is you had this new movie come out. I think it came out in October, and then the physical media came out in December. Kirsten Baja.
Kirsten Baja, correct.
So so it got picked up by Anchor Bay, which is super cool. That's like a historic company. debuted at Fright Fest. How was the release and reception been
So
so far?
yeah, it's been great. The screenings have been great. The UK was a blast. Richard Brake was able to come. That was cool to have him in the audience. And
Oh,
yeah, Fright Fest, they were very supportive. I'm new to this whole game as far as the festivals and releases and distribution. So
oh yeah.
it's been interesting to navigate this whole thing. I don't know how to do the PR. I'm learning all that as far as this goes, but this particular movie is a hybrid. It's a horror noir. So it's not
Yeah.
quite all horror and it's not, it's just a little bit of a mix for some people to try to, it can't be in our festivals. It's not a horror movie or it's not this or that. So it's been an interesting learning process, but overall, when we screen it, I just get it's a great response. Audiences love it. Some people are just completely quiet and they just, go off into it. And some people are laughing throughout. And it's just, I enjoy it all. It's been fun. We
Yeah.
screened it in Chicago and LA a couple times too.
Oh, that's really cool. It is. I mean, I want to get. I'll get into the movie in a little bit. It is so interesting, like that genre bend that you do in this. It's threw me for a loop, but it was interesting because one of the things I noticed was you. So you've done writing and directing in the past
Mhm.
with you had the short Hide, which is actually behind you,
Right.
um, and then you did that feature length Convict in 2009. Um, and this was your first feature since, and I mean, I guess, yeah, the industry has changed a lot in terms of all that distribution and stuff. It seems like it seems like there's a lot more opportunities, but also way harder to navigate that stuff.
Yeah, especially if it's an indie and especially if you're doing it all on your own. I mean, if you have a group that is all dialed in, which we did not, this kind of came about fast. I was out promoting the Munsters at the Grand Rapids Comic Con, and so I was out there, and they set me up to speak to some young filmmakers. And it was a Sunday morning. I had no idea I was going to be doing this. It's sort of like today, like when I showed up late for this. No, but I came in it was Sunday morning, and there was about 40 filmmakers, and they just started asking questions, and I just started we just went back and forth. Well, this is what I would recommend, and this is how you do it, and how digital technology right now, and doing table reads. And then I got into the Robert Rodriguez method, where you just write down everything you have access to, and that goes for locations, actors, vehicles, props,
Mhm.
whatever. And then you just go and you create it off of that. You write it off of what you have, so you can make it. And so when I
Okay.
went back to Los Angeles, I was having coffee with this friend of mine, Kent Isaacs, who ended up becoming my producer. And I said, I was telling him about it, and I was so enthusiastic. And I go, I couldn't believe it. It was like I got more from these kids than they got for sure. And he goes, well, why aren't we doing this? I go, what do you mean? He goes, let's make a feature. So I was like, wow, okay. And then it was the strike was coming up. So we
Yeah.
had this window about 5 months, and so we just made our list, and we started off, we had this home, or this farm down in Baja, Mexico, and then I had a ranch in Altadena, in California here, that could double for it, and, I that's what we created it off of. I had, the vehicles, I had all the actors 'cause, from the theater community. Most of the actors in it are from people I've worked with before in theater here.
Yeah.
And then, and I had this chupacabra costume. So, like, that's basically what I started with, and then I just kinda created it from there based on this character, this reoccurring character I keep coming across when I'm writing, this lone figure trying to seek redemption, just this broken man. So it all seemed to come together.
That's really cool. Yeah, it was not to even compare this to like your level of doing things, but I do think that that method, I've never heard it called the Robert Rodriguez method. So now I'm going to use that when I describe this because I just
I think he wrote a book on it. I never read the
Oh, did
book,
he?
but I just like the concept
Yeah,
of,
no, the
like,
concept is
that's what he did with
incredible.
mariachi, I think. He did that.
Yes,
He had a
that makes
school bus,
sense.
he had a gun, he had a guitar, he had a what, it was like that. That's where I
Yeah,
remember
I,
it.
I've always highlighted that with this show and with people that message us being like, "Oh, I want to get into doing this and stuff," and it's like my method has always been accentuate the positives and hide the negatives. Like
Right.
take what you have and what you can do and just make the most out of that you can and try and make everything else like hide the other stuff or and not hide it but just if you're
Crop it
shooting in
out.
like a rough thing like make it rougher then like make that
Yeah.
your theme like do it like that and it's more authentic that way too. I think you
Well, it's also that one of the films the type of film I have always been interested in, the B films. So it's like those creature features, those genre
yeah
movies, the sci-fi, the horror, the crime. That's what they did. They didn't have much money, so they had to be clever. So
yeah
it's not like I'm not going to write something that has a cruise ship and a submarine crash into it. I don't have it, but I
yeah
do have this house, and I have this cool So you just write what you have and have access to, and then at least you can make it. You can finish it. That's
yeah
that's the hardest thing, to try to finish it.
yeah I mean that's always the harder
Yeah,
part. So you come up with this list of the stuff you have.
yeah.
Now, okay, so I'm thinking of like two different things. I have ADHD, so sorry. So you
No,
you come up with you come up with this list.
yeah.
I've also noticed that some of your other work in the past that you've written has kind of been more crime related, similar to this, where it seems more of like convict and stuff. It was like this prison
So that
like
convict, it wasn't called Convict, and
oh
here this is the thing that's rubbing me lately. It was called Otis E, and it was a play on the Odyssey.
oh
And it was in contemporary time, and the guy was out of jail, and he was traveling across Los Angeles, and he was coming across these characters.
mm,
So lately, when I hear everybody's like Christopher Nolan is doing this thing based on the Odyssey, I just go,
r-
oh. So the producers took the movie, they chopped it up. The one guy was acting
oh
in it, and they put the title Convict, and they wrote some caption, but that's not what it was.
oh all
So
right.
that basically, it took me out of making features for a while. It was kind of a
Oh, so
heartbreaker.
that
I was like,
explains that.
I don't have
Yeah.
time for this. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna do some other stuff for a while.
So you do this list then, and then how do you come up with this concept? Like, was it something you had even considered in the past, or were you like fully based on this list that you had put together and you're like, okay, I'm writing
No,
around
I mean,
this?
it was a lot based on this list. There's a couple of filmmakers that I've always really dug. And we just did a screening as a benefit, for this fire relief in Altadena. The ranch that
Yep.
we shot at, burnt down. It was like over
Oh,
40 acres. But I one of the movies that inspired me when I was in film school was, Point Blank, and
oh,
it's John Borman, and then there was another movie, Race with the Devil, right? Did you ever see that one with, Peter Fonda and Warren Oates? And so
I'm
anyway,
I'm
those are two particular movies that I kind of was thinking about when I was writing this. And when I
okay.
talk about Borman, I talk about, I'm talking more about that lone figure, but also those the editing of it, those mind loops that you keep going over and over. That Nicholas Rogue, I'm a big fan of his too. He does that a lot.
Okay.
I don't know. Did you ever see Don't Look Now?
I have seen Don't Look Now.
Yeah, like I love that movie. So I knew I was going to do that, and in doing that, I also knew that I had a bunch of old footage that I knew
Okay.
I could kind of incorporate in it, um,
Okay.
including, and some of it was over 20 years old,
Oh,
of me with long hair with a beard, and then also, even the kid that's in it. He's not a kid anymore. He's in his early 20s, but I knew him since he was a baby. I shot that Super 8 footage of him when he was 2 years old. That's actually him. So
Oh, I was gonna ask you about that because
yeah,
I'm always fascinated when I watch a movie and you see you see like the old photos, especially now they like do CGI and stuff to like put their face on it and stuff.
no,
But in
I
the
love
80s and
Super
stuff,
8.
when you would see that they would like actually, you'd be like, is that actually their baby photo right there or not?
No, that's him. That's him.
That's so cool.
And even the actress too, the black and white stuff, that is that actress probably 15 years ago or 10 years ago.
Wow.
I've known her for a while too. So a lot of these friends I've known for 20 years or more, and so it was great to be able to, plug them into this whole thing.
That's really
So,
cool.
I don't know, it was just another piece of the puzzle, and it came fast because of the deadline, and the city was shutting down, and it was a weird time, but I happen to know this DP, who also was a photo assistant I used to work with years ago, over like 25 years ago. And he was in town and I explained to him, he says, as long as I could do my work and you're respectful of like when we could do it, I'm all there. He has all the equipment, he has everything. So
Yeah,
when you don't have any money and a guy like that says that, you're like,
of course.
we're all in. So
Yeah,
like when we went down to Mexico, we just all jumped in the car and we started shooting. And then I
that's
came
awesome.
back and I looked at it and we looked at it with my editor. And then I kept looking at my script, changing things, writing things. And then we'd have another few days with him. He'd go off on a job and then another. And we did this for, several months.
Well, yeah, that probably was a benefit in some ways because I feel
It
like
was a
when you're on a
huge benefit.
time, yeah, when you're on a time constraint and you're trying to do some like quick rewrites, they're not, it doesn't
Yeah.
go over well.
Well, not only that, like physically, like if there's no crew,
Yeah,
there's no crew. We're doing
yeah,
everything. We're putting it together. We're running around. After 3 or 4 days of that, you're just exhausted. So if you had
yeah.
to do that for 3 weeks straight, I don't know
Oh,
how
yeah.
you do it if you didn't have any support. There was no script super or there wasn't even a gaffer. There wasn't my producer was doing the sound most of the time. So it was like we were just scrapping, especially down in TJ. It was
Yeah,
scary. It was some really scary situations, but we managed to like, you know, capture a bunch
that's
of stuff. It was
that's
cool. It
really
was fun.
that's really cool. And yeah, the film is a lot of inspirations that I kind of guessed, or just to kind of assumed, where I was like the Noor thing hits early, and you're like, oh shit, like I was not expecting this. I thought that was cool, and like the surrealist element and that editing that you're talking about was really cool, and like very David Lynch vibes, in my opinion, where it was like it would like pop into like the dream state. It was all very dreamy. Oh, not all of it, but there's moments where you're very dreamy sequences and stuff, and just like very cool. I mean, you talked about some of those inspirations. Was there any other like specific inspirations for this where you were like, this is
Well,
what
it's
I'm
funny you
looking
said to
for?
David Lynch. That's what Rob Zombie said. He said, "Oh, it's kind of Lynchian," and I didn't hear that before he said it, and then he passed away, and then all of a sudden I kept hearing that after, like, "Oh,
Yeah,
you must have." And I do like Lynch a lot, so I'm definitely honored by that comparison. I dig his films. I wasn't setting out to be like a Lynch movie, but yeah, it's obviously there's a beautiful woman and this and that. There's
it's
plenty of
cool.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
no, and at least I mean, there's every way to do it, but in this particular movie, as you know, without giving away too much, those images are from a source that shows up that you understand
yes,
later. It's not just random things. You
right.
understand the meaning of each, stage or clip or whatever. So
Right. Yeah, it
I
ties
hope,
together.
I hope. I don't know. Maybe you don't.
No, no, it for sure. I mean, listen, it ties together more than a lot of David Lynch movies, but
Yeah.
I don't think he wanted it to tie together. So it's
Yeah. No, he
I'm
doesn't
not
want
knocking
to.
him. He didn't want
Yeah.
to.
I'm not knocking him at all. No, I love what he,
He,
no, not
he
at
was
all.
not trying to tie anything up. I don't think in a lot
No,
of
he
those
didn't want to
movies. He's
explain it like I am right now. Either.
so you did mention that you ended up shooting in Mexico, which was pretty cool because a lot of those in California you could get away with not going to Mexico and shooting a
Yeah,
movie
well, there's a
in
lot of it.
Mexico.
We shot in the neighborhood. Yeah, we went, there's enough like Mexican type the restaurants, and there's all sorts of stuff that we
Right.
shot, and definitely we had to match. But we
Yeah.
did go down there and shot. That farm is down there, a lot of it with the dogs and all that. That's in
Right.
Mexico. And
How was it shooting down there? You said that there was some rough
on the
rough
streets, it was
times.
crazy. On the streets, certain areas we thought we were gonna, we were gonna either get hijacked or whatever. It was scary because we were trying to go down some like red light districts and stuff. But
Oh,
um,
you're brave.
all in all, once we got to the farm, it was funny. So this friend owns the farm, and she wasn't gonna be there for a while, so we just started shooting right away. And then there were these trailers, and we set up that scene, and I'm all bloody, and I'm laying in a bed, and all of a sudden this woman comes in, this Mexican woman. She's like, in Spanish, she's like, what are you doing in my like, what are you doing in my bed all bloody? I was like, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't know anybody lived in we didn't know anybody lived in trailer. We just thought people lived in the house. So but it was very awkward, and she was very sweet, and she kind of understood. But that's how we were going. Just, I mean, we had drones, and the other thing we learned is GPS doesn't work too good down in Mexico. So
Oh,
when we were doing these drones, the one fell down in the middle of the mountains. My camera guys, DP, this is Keith Coleman, by the way. He climbed up the mountain and came down, and he fell on this barbed wire, and we had to like peel the barbed wire off of him. And then he continued to shoot for another 24 hours. And he's incredible. He's just like, that's the kind of guy you want, like as your DP. He's
100%.
incredible. He has everything. He's a workhorse. He has a vision. He's just a cool dude and down for it. He's the one that told me about those mines in Death Valley. We shot in Death Valley too. So him
Oh,
and I just went there. I shot him sometimes on the motorcycle. He shot me. Like
oh,
we just started going for it.
that's cool.
That's great.
That's cool. That's
Yeah. And
that's
the
super
other,
cool.
when we were talking about the editing, it's Mark Cohen is my editor, and I've been doing stuff with him for, I don't know, at least a decade. And he's really brilliant as far as making it happen and building that whole, visual landscape. So more credit
Real
to
like
him.
guerrilla production. It's pretty
It is guerrilla direct production, and it's kind of weird to be doing it now at this age, but I don't know. There's just something that's invigorating about it,
yeah.
and this one we're successful. It's out there, and you could see it, and you could get a DVD, and you could stream it, and it's on Tubi, and so it is cool that the movie's out there, and we're not
Yeah.
just waiting for someone to watch it. So
Right.
it's very rewarding.
Yeah, that's incredible. Now, did you do anything because I was trying to tread lightly on what to say and what to reveal. You mentioned a chupacabra. Did you do any like local like look into local lore in this? Were you like,
Yeah, well, when we were down there, I learned a lot, and I also researched, and they did have these Russian missionaries that came down there, and they
okay,
failed. And so that was based on that. They were trying to build up the tourism in this particular area by creating these I don't know, these little stories or shows. They were like all that stuff. I wove it into it. As far as the chupacabra goes, I mean, we all know there's that lore, but in that particular area, I don't know. I kind of, again, that Race with the Devil was this movie with Warren Oates, Peter Fonda, Loretta Swit, and I can't remember the other woman's name, but it's this idea I saw when I was young. It was one of the scariest movies I've ever seen as a young kid. My parents took me, and they're basically out camping. They're in an RV, and they're partying and hanging out. The wives go to bed, and they look out in the distance, and they can see a fire, and they get their binoculars out, and they go, "Wow, those people are really partying." And you could say, "Whoa," and then you could see the blurry image, and they're all naked dancing around this fire, and he's like, "Whoa, what a party!" They're and then all of
yeah,
a sudden they're holding up a woman, and then they throw her on the fire, and they're like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" So the rest of the movie, they're being chased by these people, and it's like that idea, because we used to go camping a lot. So that idea of people were scarier than any creature. So I love that concept. Uh, the movie goes on and they go into the town and whatnot. And it was just so well done and crafted and but it really stuck with me. So that's one of the reasons that's also woven into the story too. Like
I
the
dig
people
this.
are kookier than anything you can imagine, you know.
The cover of Race to the Devil is absolutely incredible. This
Yeah.
is I'm immediately gonna watch this. This is
Oh my
this is
yeah, you should definitely watch it. And picture yourself as like a, I don't know, 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid watching with your parents, like, "What the hell are you taking me to?"
you know,
So
there's it's so funny. Like there's so my son is 12 and now there's all these streamers and there's all these horror games and this is like the big thing now, these like horror video computer games and stuff.
mm,
But there's a game that is my son was watching some YouTuber play it and I was like, that's actually the scariest thing and it sounds identical to Race with the Devil
oh, really?
where your character like you have binoculars and you can see this cult like doing something in flames and like the guy's like,
Like,
what is this?
race
And
with
he
the
like zooms in and then they see you looking and
That's
you
it.
just watch them scatter and
That's
then
it.
he's like, what the fuck? And I was like,
That's what
it hit me like
pull
I was
that
like,
from
oh, that's
that.
terrifying. That's terrifying.
It is. And especially if your family used to go camping a lot, and you're
Yeah,
like, "Whoa, whoa, wait a minute." So,
yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. That's so cool. Now did you, I mean, I had this question written down, but it seems like it was more of a necessity for you to act in it.
yeah.
Did you want to act in it or were you like,
Yeah,
I
I
want to be
always
in this?
planned on it. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
when you go to art school, you wonder why there's so many people that do self-portraits because you
Yeah.
know you're gonna sit with yourself and do it's hard to get people to, like, show up and be
Yeah.
there. You can't blame them for not wanting to come back or so, yeah, I knew I was gonna be there. I was gonna be able to look the same for, months on end, and that's why I knew that was gonna be the thread throughout the movie. That just seems to makes more sense, and yeah, because I never
Yeah.
knew how long it was gonna take.
Yeah. And the your cast was great. Robin Lee, Ken Isaacs, Barbara Crampton. You you mentioned that you'd known these people from theater in
Yeah,
LA
most of
area?
them, not Barbara Crampton, obviously, I just knew her
Yeah.
last, I don't know, 5, 7 years or so. Um, there was only, like, 3 people that I didn't know before, 3 or 4 people. That's it. All the rest of the people I've done plays with, we used to do a lot of black box theater and site specific, and
Yeah.
we would just go someplace, put on something live. I mean, one of the best things I ever did was in this Chinese restaurant, like, it just crazy stuff that we've done, all over Los Angeles, and these playwrights I used to work with and I learned a lot from, they're just word wordsmiths, they're
Yeah.
really good at creating these surreal kinda off characters and stuff, and I got really lucky. This one group, Padua Playwrights, it was started by Sam Shepard, and so every summer they'd come out to this college in Padua, and then it continued, but they would do, a playwright group over the summer, and students can come in, and at the end of the summer, they put on these productions. Each playwright did their own with the students, and I mean, Ed Harris was there,
Wow.
Amy Madigan, and what's his name? I don't know, just a bunch of his characters that were in his plays or in movies. I'm trying to think who else. Joe Montana, like all these different Sam Shepard people. So
Yeah.
it was cool that that's where I kind of learned from those people and just taking it serious no matter what you're doing, especially an
Yeah.
independent thing. None of these actors ever questioned like, "What, you only have 1 camera or you don't really have a crew?" No, they were all
Just
full
making it.
bore in. They were all
That's
in.
that's awesome. So how did you get into the industry? I mean, it seems like you were more of just an artist than like I'm gonna make horror movies, which it seems like you've kind of gotten lumped into that now. But we mentioned prior to this that you grew up in Chicago or previously lived in Chicago. So what was that journey like? Were you like, I want to be an actor, I'm going to LA, or
No, not
how
at
did you
all.
get to that?
I had no idea. I went to school in Michigan, then I went to school in Italy for a year. I was at art school, and then this friend of mine, she said you should actually be in film school. We were talking about, so then I got accepted. Two of the schools, I was too late, and the last school was USC, and they accepted me. I finished an art degree and a film degree, and then when I was getting ready to graduate, I didn't understand how I was gonna direct actors without knowing at the time, they didn't have that in their
Okay.
program. It might have changed, but, like, how am I gonna direct an actor if I know nothing about acting? And so then I started taking classes, and I'd always appear in other people's student films.
Yeah.
So then I got very serious about, studying acting, and then I would be on the set. I worked behind the camera. I did art department for a decade, music videos, commercials, whatever. And then every once in a while I'd be able to audition, and I did theater. It's all been woven together. I never like set out to do one thing. I just kind of keep moving. But
That's so cool. That's so
yeah,
cool.
I mean, yeah, it was never a plan. It was never a plan, but it seems to be
Wow.
working so far. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, man. I mean,
I don't
you're
know.
amazing. I
Oh,
truly,
thanks.
I love seeing you in anything. It's
Oh,
always
thanks, man.
a pleasant surprise. Um, and in terms of eyeballs on you, Caveman or Cavemen,
Yeah.
rather, the Caveman show was was that like a that was based on like what I was reading, seemed like a pretty big jumping off point in terms of like people seeing you, and even though it was a lot of makeup, but was that helpful to you? Was What was your thought on that period? Because that, I mean, it's a big break. Regardless of what people would say about it, you know what I mean?
So at the time when we were doing it, commercial actors, you didn't wanna be seen as a commercial actor. You didn't wanna be labeled. You didn't wanna, so I never told anybody I was doing it, and I did it for a
Oh,
decade. I was pretty quiet about it.
that's
Um,
interesting.
I mean, there was certain, because there was a couple of us, but I did the majority of it, and I did the very beginning, and I did it for a decade. And I would go to the set. They I'd get there before anybody. They'd put the makeup on. I'd work with everybody all day long. I'd get my makeup off, and I'd walk through the same set, and nobody even knew it was me that was with them the whole day. So I just kept it quiet until only recently I've been more open about it because nobody cares now. Anybody does commercials, you'll see Samuel Jackson do a
Oh
commercial.
yeah,
It doesn't matter anymore, and back then it just had a certain stigma. But yeah, I just, that Caveman TV show was a spinoff of that.
right.
Um, and I wasn't even asked to be on that show until later. The writers said, "Well, why isn't this guy in it?" So then they wrote me in, which was cool, and
Yeah.
everybody was super nice on it. It just didn't work as a what they were trying to do, but that was fine. And then I stopped. It stopped for about a decade, and then it just started up about a year ago again.
W- Are you doing it again or no? Is it
Yeah, yeah,
keep?
yeah. I did
Oh,
it
you
all
are. That's
last
awesome.
year. Yeah, yeah.
That that's great. I mean,
Last year,
so
last year was a Super Bowl. They had a big, it was like a
yeah,
short film I was in, and then I also like March Madness. I don't know. I did them all last year with a lot of sports stuff.
that's so cool. So I think it's interesting because the Geico commercials, and particularly the Cavemen at the time, were a cultural phenomenon. And I don't know if people like younger people understand that. Like that was water cooler talk. Like you went to work and people were talking about Geico commercials.
Yeah, it
And
was
it's
bizarre. It
but
was
it's
bizarre.
so
I wasn't watching a lot of TV, so I didn't see it as much, but I did know that it was starting to build. And I remember driving down to Arizona to visit family, and pulling into this town and seeing an airplane go over with a banner with my face on it. It was a bit surreal, but it was a little overwhelming for me. I wasn't really comfortable with it, I guess. I
okay, yeah.
like to be in the background and do my thing and get out. So
Yeah.
it was, now I understand it a little more, but at the time it was just, it was crazy. We did it, and we did it like even at the March Madness recently. My face went on the jumbotron, and like 50,000 people jumped up and they were like, "Eh," and they're all clapping and laughing, and it was just I'm always amazed that people still enjoy it or find it get a kick out of it. So yeah.
Well, it's so one of the things that I was thinking about with this was it's funny because at the time the show came out and I remember like the reaction was sort of like, can you believe they turned a commercial into a TV show? But in 2025, literally everything has to be IP. And I feel
Yeah.
like that would have been huge now. Like if they
Maybe,
do that
maybe.
now, no, I think
Yeah.
it would. I mean, there's Barbie, there's
Yeah, right.
every little thing. They're making a battleship movie. Like, how are we even going to do this? I don't know, but everything has to be this like little piece of IP that's already been created and established. And I don't know. It's interesting how that's like kind of come full circle now. Where at the time it did, like you're saying, there was like this stigma around it, but now it would be like, we got to do this. Like this has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking to the wrong guy. I just go by my gut, and I don't know what the trends are necessarily, but if I
Yeah.
like it, that's all I'm more interested in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And then so after that, you link up with Rob Zombie for Halloween 2
Hmm.
as the bouncer at the Rabbit in Red Lounge.
Yeah, that was a lot of
Super
fun.
fun. It seemed like a fun role.
That was a lot of
Uh
fun to get to know him, and or at least
yeah.
him to get to know what I was gonna bring, and I think he
Yeah.
got a kick out of it, and he was very supportive, and in the beginning, I'm sure he was rolling his eyes like, "This guy is asking for more takes, or can he riff?" And he's like, "We have so much to shoot. You're the last. I don't need to listen to, this
Yeah.
actor's stuff." But then he got a kick out of it. A lot of the stuff, especially behind by the dumpster, a lot of that stuff was on the fly, and it was a lot of fun, and he just enjoyed it, and he let me go a lot of times. Um, yeah, I owe a lot to Rob. He's always inspiring me. He's given me all these opportunities. He cares about his actors. He cares about performances, and yeah, I'm just grateful. And he has an eye for what he likes, and he'll adjust things and add to it based on that. So
Yeah.
yeah, he trusted me a lot, and so that definitely helped my confidence.
That's awesome. And we had Brandon Trust on recently, like a couple months ago, and he kind of said a similar thing where it was like once you get to riffing with him, it was like, okay, like once you felt each other out and you were like, let's
Mhm.
like make this, like, let's just like riff with each other and figure this out together. And very open to hearing other
Yeah,
ideas and stuff, which is cool.
he does, and he definitely has his own vision, but he's open to enhancing it, I guess, or
That's
trying to
exactly
enhance it.
what
It
Trust,
doesn't necessarily not everything doesn't necessarily make the film, but he'll let you I mean, you don't have a lot of takes, but everyone he'll go, "Yeah, go for it,"
yeah,
"Give you this one." And with
yeah,
Brandon, he's extremely talented too. I love that guy, and,
he was
we're so
awesome.
friendly, and I did a music video with him. He was trying to do we just he, Fireball Ministry, he did a music
Oh yeah,
video for
yep.
them, and he just said, "Hey, you wanna come out? I got an old car. We're gonna go out to, this area and shoot this thing." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So,
That's so cool.
he's in the same cloth. He's cut from the same cloth as Rob. He's just gung ho.
Yeah,
Cool
yeah,
dude.
it was really cool. So was Halloween 2, did you get like a little bit of the bug for the horror genre or was it like something you had wanted to do or were you like, "Oh, this is kind of fun being in these out of control Rob Zombie horror movies?"
Well, and this is my opinion, I loved Halloween too. Not that I wasn't in Halloween, the first one that he did,
Mhm.
but Halloween 2, it's almost like he didn't have to stick to the lore. It was
Yeah.
more about coming out of his head, and I always think that's what he's extremely strong, has a great imagination, great eye.
Yeah.
He did that in Lords of Salem too,
Yeah.
and when you could tap into his brain, that movie, those moments in Halloween 2 where I don't know where it was coming from, I think that's his huge strength, and that's what it's
Yeah.
fun to watch to see where he goes. I mean,
Yeah.
Lords of Salem, it just blows your mind when you watch that one.
That
Like,
that one's so wild.
it's so crazy, and I was with him and Sherry, and we were in Toronto, and half the audience was like, "This isn't a Rob Zombie movie." They were so mad, and the other half of the audience was like, "I don't know what just happened. I got to see that again." That just like that was mind effing, like, oh my god, what did I
Yeah.
just witness? And so I don't know. I love when he does that. I love when he does that. So on Halloween 2, yeah, I've always, I grew up watching the creature features, and Svengoolie was my guy in
Yeah.
Chicago, and
Chicago, yeah.
yeah, as a kid, Lon Chaney, I was really uh, idolizing him. I had this little makeup kit, and I would change myself, and skin caps, and must and fake teeth, and all that. So yeah, I've always loved all that. So it was cool to tap into that with him.
Yeah, and in Lords of Salem, how did it I guess, how did you I mean, I'm sure Rob calls you about it, but finding out that Rob's like, "Hey, I want you to be in this, like, larger role now," was that, like, a big confidence boost for you, or, like, that Rob,
Well,
like, trusts you with that? Or
yeah, it was great. It always is when he calls, and I'm game to jump in. On that particular one, we rehearsed for a couple days, I think at least a couple days, just to kind of get mesh the three of us,
Mhm.
Ken Foray and Sherry and I, and because we just had to have this bond as a radio team, so that helped. And I think based on that, I think he started liking things, and script was changing while we were doing it. And my part got a little bigger as we went. It wasn't originally like that,
Oh, okay.
but that's how he works. Like if he sees
Yeah.
something he likes and he goes, "Oh, this seemed to make sense," then it enlarges. So in that particular movie, I didn't know while we were shooting, I didn't even know what they were shooting with her and what she was going,
Oh,
because through it, they were doing the craziest sequences that I wasn't
right.
part of. And so and she was exhausted. It was an exhausting shoot, and it was a
Yeah.
crazy schedule. So I was just like witnessing my friend, like the demise of her. And I've had friends that are gone through some bad addiction and whatnot. So I just try to stay present, and just and hopefully it came across that I was just supporting my friend as I saw her melting away, kind of.
Oh,
And
for
so
sure.
that's where any of that comes from, is based on that. She was committed, and the schedule was lined up to I just that's how it went. By the end of it, we were all just fried out, and,
Yeah,
wrecked.
and, we talked about that with Brandon too a little bit with that schedule because it's I don't I think it's notorious. I've read about it how
Yeah.
condensed it was. Like
Oh,
Rob had
yeah.
like and how was that for acting wise? Because like
It always
Brandon
helps
was like it
me
was
in these
rough.
situations. Yeah, as my character 31 was like that too. Like, I came in and I was supposed to die with the, chainsaw, and then in the morning he goes, "Hey, by the way, you're gonna live. You're gonna." I'm like, "What?" You're like, "Yeah, you're gonna continue." It's like, "Oh, well," and then you, like, go through that, and then there's a lady with, knives is gonna come, and chains, and then, "Hey, by the way, you're gonna live with her," like, every day. So it just kept you on edge. You're falling on the cement, you're up all night, you're just by the end of it, you're just, like, basically limping through the rest of the movie. And I
Yeah.
think it comes across well on film. You believe that this guy's been through the ringer.
Yeah, and your characters have this intensity to them, like to their core, in my opinion. Even when you're like, even the bouncer who's like more laid back in a way, uh, there's just this like intensity inside of these characters that I that I really dig, and it seems pretty physically demanding. How do you like
Yeah,
tap into that on these?
I don't know, but when it comes to, and you just have to prepare for him,
Yeah,
because you don't have many takes. You prep, maybe you do some research, you try to visualize, you be present, and I'm sure I'm probably drawn to these uncomfortable, unpredictable characters. I don't know. That seems to be
Well, it's
my
so funny because I was like, we've never spoken before, so I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe he is this intense. Like when I talk to him, and
yeah,
you're
I
just like,
probably
I love theater. I'm an artist.
no, no, I'm definitely it's not hard for me to tap into something a little more intense and a little more angry, but in life, yeah, I'm pretty low key, I'm pretty chill, and so maybe this is working out my demons, who knows? I don't know.
How tall are you?
6'4".
I've my tallest friends are always the sweetest, nicest, calmest people, but they have this little switch in them
There's a switch, definitely, and
for
it's
tall
definitely
guys, I
a
think, where
switch.
they're like, you see it and you're like, oh, I'm never gonna fuck with you ever,
Well, yeah, I'm
ever.
not no, if I put that out there on the internet, I'm gonna get, like,
Oh,
with a beer
tag the
bottle
Caveman.
every bar I come into. No, I don't, that's yeah, I everybody has that switch, but yeah, I definitely do. Oh,
That's so I have a million questions on all of these. I'm trying to keep it
yeah, yeah, no,
condensed
go
for
for it.
us here. So, um, we'll have to have you on again one time because I want to talk about the Munsters. I could probably talk about this forever. But
Yeah.
Rob comes to you and says what when he's like,
Yeah, and
well,
we
first of all, were you a Munsters fan?
yeah, yeah, huge Munsters fan as a kid.
Okay.
I loved all those shows, but
Yeah.
particularly that show. I think my memory doesn't always come back so quickly. Like Dan Roebuck can remember every episode and he remembers every moment with the Munsters. And then it didn't even dawn on me until later. I like even as a kid in the Cub Scouts, you carve these little these
The
these
Pinewood
cars. There's a
Derby? Yeah, the
race.
Pinewood Derby. Yeah.
Pinewood Derby. Mine was a coffin. It was my own little Dragula.
Oh,
And all the other kids were, aerodynamic, and I had this big black coffin with a head sticking out of it. And obviously that was from the Munsters, but and it wasn't fast, by the way. It was just cool looking. But yeah, yeah, I've always been a big fan of the Munsters, and so yeah, he called me, but this was before we shot it. It was almost 7 years before he called me to ask me, and I had to pull my truck over to the side. I go, "What?" My heart's racing, and I'm trying to understand what he's talking about. And then, sure enough, it stalled. It didn't happen.
yeah.
And then he talked to me again, and then again it stalled again, or they changed their mind, whatever happened. So by the time we were ready to do it at the end, and the delays and whatnot, it was like, yeah, I'm all in. But I definitely went through the anxiety. But meanwhile, I'd watched all the shows again,
Yeah.
and I did my research and what I thought I could pull off. But yeah, no, it was super cool. And the fact that, I mean, it was a big gift that he gave me. And the fact that he even had confidence in me to do it, that was just super, super sweet of him to do. And I'm grateful.
It's my son loves that movie. When he saw it, his mind was like blown. We watched the old ones together.
Yeah.
So to see it in this like hyper colored
Yeah.
reality, he was like, what is this? This is incredible.
It is cool going into the cons, and I've never had all these families come up to me before,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
really sweet, and kids dressing up, or they have the doll or whatever, and that's great. And then I just got this message from a friend, uh, and she was telling me how her brother really loved it, and it really made his time in prison a lot nicer. They have these tablets, and he watched it, and he's going through a very hard time
Yeah.
in the pen, and he watched it, and he was so excited by the show, and she wanted to relay that to me, and that's never happened. I've never heard
That's
that
so cool.
before. I mean, that I don't know, that's kinda mind blowing for me, and I was very touched by that, but I don't know, that movie seems to have legs. A lot of
It
people went
does.
after it just when he decided to do it,
I
and
know.
they never saw an image, and they went after him because, that's sacred, that you don't wanna mess with that. But we're like, wait, I think I'm like the 5th Herman Munster, like, I'm not we didn't. There's been so many other versions. It just happens to be that it's by him, and you could see it on Netflix. And I don't know. It's always blows my mind that they target him without even seeing anything.
He
It's a
is
strange.
so he's so polarizing in this genre, and I don't want to like bash the horror fans by any means or anything because there's so many amazing ones, but it is like this weird area where people are like they get like defensive over certain things, and when we did the Summer of Rob, we were like, this guy fucking rocks. Like this guy is just doing whatever the fuck he wants, and like that's fucking commendable. That's so cool. And we've even gotten to a point where like not every episode, but I'd say like every fourth episode, we're like, should Rob Zombie remake this? And we're always like, yeah, yeah, for sure. I want to see the Rob Zombie version of this movie. It's like it would just blow the doors off the hinges. It would be so crazy. But seeing you as Herman was was amazing. And I think for Rob to see that is really impressive
Yeah, he
because
saw it early on, and I
that
never would have even put that together.
well, even like the voice alone, like I was like, I mean, I don't know what Fred Gwynn's voice was outside of
Well,
the
Fred,
show.
well, he had a different thing, and the idea, the angle, I guess I was rooting for, and Rob went with it and agreed, and we agreed on it, was that he was newborn. He was young. It was like a
Yeah.
teenager in love. And so the cracking of the voice and just the awkwardness. He wasn't married. He didn't have a kid. He didn't
Yep.
have all that history like he did on the TV show.
Yeah.
This is a guy that was just created. So he's just trying to find himself.
Yeah.
That was the idea. I don't do impersonations.
No.
And, Dan Roebuck does a great grandpa, and he
Oh
sounds
my
like him and
god.
everything.
It
But
was
in
crazy.
my case, I knew I knew I wasn't that guy, but I knew that it could be kind of a cool angle to go for. And, some people liked it a lot. Some people, who knows?
No, it felt like really authentic. Like I know you're saying you didn't want to do that voice, but in a lot of ways it was Fred's voice. It was just when you were cast as it, I was like, oh, how is he gonna do that voice? Like, was Fred's voice a voice or was it Fred's voice? I never like heard him talk outside of the show, so I was like, maybe that was just his regular voice. So
Well, he
how is
definitely
Jeff
had
gonna do that?
a very deep baritone kind of,
Yeah,
but yeah, I just went for what I was gonna do, and it seemed to make sense in how we went at the story, the origin story.
yeah. And now Fred notoriously hated the makeup on the Munsters. It was like his biggest issue with it. We've come a long way. How was the makeup for your on your
Yeah,
set? Was
like,
it
so
brutal?
I have a very high tolerance for being
Okay.
uncomfortable. And I've learned this from all like the caveman makeup and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that's
So
true.
I've done that for, decades. So I was prepared for that. The Budapest makeup team, the FX team, they were great. And they were on it. And it just, I mean, I was constantly melting or falling apart, like, and they were always gluing something on or fixing something. And they were the sweetest group. And they were very excited to have us. And I just, that was great. It was exhausting, like, just to keep me together. I'd go in there earlier. It'd be about 3 hours of makeup. We'd shoot for
Oh my.
about 12 to 14 hours, and then it took an hour to get out. So, and then you're in this muscle suit that's about 10 degrees hotter than everybody.
Yeah.
Half time we'd switch, and I was just dripping wet, and then balancing on the platforms and just trying to make him seem light and alive. By the end
Yeah.
of the day, I was just exhausted. So the makeup people just like kept me. They just pour me into a van at the end of the day, and then they'd bring me back. So I mean, they were the best. It,
That
it
is
was good. It was exhausting. It was really challenging, but you know,
yeah.
again, it was a gift, and I was really happy that he did that and he chose me, and it was cool. It was a really
It's
cool thing.
it's really cool. That was shot during COVID
It was
or no?
during
Was it?
COVID, so the whole city of Budapest, um, it was shut down, so nothing was open. everybody's like, "How's Budapest?" I go, "I don't know. The restaurants were shut until the last very end of it. We were there for 3 months, and it was isolating, and you weren't sure, and all the news about COVID, and you're like, what am I doing here? I'm away from my home. And so for the first month, it was just a little cagey, and then once we started working, it didn't matter. We were just all busy. But yeah, it was a weird vibe psychologically. You never saw anybody's face in your
Yeah.
crew. They were masked and shielded back then.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I had no connection, and a lot of them didn't speak English well. So it was just about 5 of us that would react, and that's why we all played multiple roles. Dan played a bunch of
Oh,
roles. I played a
yeah,
couple,
yeah,
Sherry
yeah.
played a couple, but we were in this little bubble, and it was challenging. It was good, but I mean, it was freaky, and I'm told the story at the very end. It was at the very end of the shoot. They had a drone come down to shoot a picture of the cast and crew together in front of the castle,
Yeah.
and, everybody took off their masks. It was outside, and it was sunny out, and I ran from the makeup, so I'm half green, and I'm taking the picture, and I look, and I'm seeing people's face that I've spent 3 months with for the first time
That's
without their
crazy.
yeah, it was cool, and they were all very happy, so that was even better because they weren't like, "Oh, this is the most horrible experience." They were very proud and happy, so, yeah, it was really touching, and that crew was just they were all in. It was really tough on everybody, but
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm really proud of what we pulled off, and everybody should be too because it
Yeah,
was
that's
amazing,
awesome.
all the challenges we had.
Did you guys ever have to, like, shut down? Because I know a lot of productions, it would be like if somebody tested positive, it was like, "Okay, we have to shut down for a week."
We did not, and if somebody did get it, I'm sure they just removed them, but there was
Yeah.
only 5 of us that basically didn't
Yeah.
have and then someone would come in, like, Cassandra would come in, Elvira, she
Yeah,
would
yeah.
come in for, like, a week, or Richard Brake, or Jorge came in, and they'd have to be, uh, you know, put in a room for a couple days and
Uh,
and cleared, and then they'd come on set. So, we got to see those people up close and hang out with them in this,
that's
in the
cool.
bubble that we had, but other than that, yeah. Yeah, it was a trip, man. It was a trip. It
Yeah.
was it
It
was,
it seems and it changed everything. I
it
mean,
seemed like a million years ago now, though. It's funny. It was
it's
just so
so crazy how long ago that seems. It doesn't
yeah,
even seem real.
it doesn't.
It's so
It was a
bizarre.
sci-fi movie for sure. Yeah.
The movies that are gonna come out about it are gonna be wild.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe nobody wants to hear about it. I don't know.
I mean, that's true. That's true. Yeah. I still wonder, like, what my son's gonna be like, because he was young. He was I mean, how many years ago was that now? 5 years? So, he was, like, 10, 9 or 8, and, like, I'm so curious about when he's old enough to really, like, articulate and be like, "Yeah, I was feeling this way at the time." I had no idea what that feeling was, but, like, I'm really curious about that that
Or even the
aspect.
awkward teenagers that kept the masks on for, like,
Oh, yeah.
months after because they just rather be kind of covered and
Yeah.
it yeah, it was scary times.
Yeah. So, you have a new character, uh, Levi Reed in Dexter
Yeah.
Original Sin.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I won't say too much because I feel like people are still kind of dripping into that, especially with the
Yeah,
news of
yeah,
the
yeah.
new Dexter show coming out. Um, Super cool, intense character, and you're now officially a part of this massive, like, cultural universe. When I was thinking about this, I was like, and I mean, I think, things like the Munsters and your roles with Rob Zombie, like, those are all big cultural things, but Dexter is just like one of those things I think will stick around forever. Um, Producer Lexi is the biggest Dexter fan, and it's just like one of those things where it's like you're now officially a part of this, and your character is actually a major part of his history
Yeah, I
through
know.
this season. It's
I
really
know.
cool. So how was that? Like, first of all, how was it making the show, and what's
It
it like
was a
being a part of
trippy
that?
experience. It was trippy because I'll be honest with you, I usually stay away from the really despicable, like, the darker characters by
Yeah.
choice, and, um, and that type of darkness, and I just find sometimes that stuff just lingers with me, after, so
Yeah.
I
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
stay away, and I turn down a lot of that kinda stuff, but in this particular case, this guy just seemed there's just something a little bit clownish and strange about him where I did grasp. Um, and then just to work on Dexter with that, like you just said, that the history of that, it was
Yeah.
such a great cast. The director was great. Michael Lehman did most of the things. He did no, was it Airbuds? No. The one with Adam Sandler and Brendan Fraser, what's it called?
Uh,
Steve Buscemi. He did
uh,
Heathers. I mean, he's done a bunch of stuff, the director.
oh, Airheads, Airheads.
Airheads. Was it Airheads? Airheads. I
Yeah,
said
Airheads, yeah. Oh my god,
Airbuds,
that
something like
movie
that.
fucking rocks.
But
That
Airheads.
movie
No,
rocks.
but anyway, so that guy was super cool. The writers were really talented. Um, you know, Scott Reynolds and Clyde Phillips and like all those people, super talented writers. So there's there's nothing. And then Christian Slater was just like the coolest cat to be working with.
What yeah.
I've always been a fan of his. And then the lead guy, Patty Gibson, I thought he did
Yes.
such an amazing job, and it was right. I was with him from the get go. I actually got to go to Miami for the first episode, and I got to meet him, and he was really down to earth, Irish actor, young guy, and
He's
he was
Irish?
yeah, and he just stepped into it, and he had the confidence, and I think he did an amazing job. Yeah. So everybody I've
Hard
met
thing to
on
step
there,
into.
yeah, it's a hard one, but maybe being foreign, he just didn't give it,
Yeah.
and he just jumped in. He just didn't even care about that. It
Yeah.
was, sometimes that's the way to go. But
Yeah,
anyway,
for
I thought
sure.
he did a great job. So yeah, it was one of those things that happened to fall into my lap. I did audition, but they knew my stuff, some of my stuff, and uh, I think in the audition, he seemed like kind of a quirky guy, and then all of a sudden, like you said before, the switch was turned, and you're like, this guy's you
Yeah.
believe you could really do it. And I'm talking
Yeah.
about the actor. I'm talking about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could really so no, but they were like, "Oh, wow, I think you got it." So that was cool. And yeah, I and that we shot that like over 4 months. Like they'd keep bringing me back and
Oh.
they added a couple things too. And that tends to be my MO. If they like something, they add it. So yeah, I got like 5 episodes out of it. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's gotta be a cool thing is, like, it seems like every role you do, from what you're saying, it's just like, they're like, "We're actually gonna do more."
Yeah, I mean, that's a
And
good
it's awesome.
sign, I think,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
great sign. It's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
always yeah, it's a good confidence builder, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna wrap it up here. But over the years, you've become an icon in the horror community. How do you feel about your place there? Yeah, what does it feel like? Because I mean, it seems
I
like
I
it's
think
gotta be a little bit surreal.
that's a loaded question, and no
You
matter
think
what,
so?
I'm gonna come off sounding like a douche, so I'm gonna pass on that one.
Oh,
But
really? Well,
I'm not gonna how do you answer that? And
I mean, it's gotta be cool, right? Like, it's gotta be
it's
there's
very cool if you think that, and I thank you for thinking that way, but
yeah.
no matter what, yeah, thank you. That's it.
Yeah, you got it. I mean,
I'll
I
just
I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. I
oh,
know
well,
there's a lot of
that's
people that
very
feel that
nice, and like I said before, the conventions is something I didn't quite grasp in the beginning, and then every time I go, I realize the horror community is just the best, and they're the most loyal, and they're just a sweet group of people, and I'm not talking about it's a weird generalization, but there's like so many outsiders in the horror community and people that just like, oh, this is my
Yeah.
tribe, this is my group. And
Yeah.
that's been a really cool thing to be part of that.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
it's crazy.
really appreciate them. And it's always exciting to meet everybody and everybody's been super cool. And I
It
go a lot with Richard Brake because he lives in London, and we just had the best time and
yeah,
have a lot of fun with everybody. Yeah.
yeah.
And
No,
actually,
it's
I met your producer, Lexi, at one of
you
these things,
did.
right?
You did. She
Yeah,
won't
and she
stop
was very
talking about
sweet, and all that kind of stuff really means a lot. I didn't know it was like this when I started doing some of these things, and it's a good barometer to see, oh, I guess, yeah. When I used to do theater, you come off and you see what lands, what doesn't,
Yeah.
and in films, you never know, and especially with streaming, you never know. So
No, yeah.
it's always cool to find out, oh yeah, there is an audience for this, or what people are digging, or what they like to see you do, or it
Yeah,
means
and
a lot.
seeing like the 90%, there's like the 10% online people where you can find a lot of negativity and it's
Yeah.
brutal. And but it's when you go out and you actually meet these people and you realize like, oh my God, there's so many people that love this. And it's like all that shit doesn't even matter. That
No.
person to person stuff, when you meet them, it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. We've done some conventions and some live shows, and I remember, I forget his name, so sorry to that listener, but he came out, drove from New York to Tampa, and he brought, we did a screening of Halloween 2, and he brought this Halloween 2 poster, and it had all the actors on it. It all signed it. And he was like, I need you guys to sign it. And I was
That's
like,
yeah.
I was like, are you sure about that? Like, I don't like my name on this is, you have all these amazing people. I don't think you want me to sign it. I was like triple check with him. I was like, are you sure you want my name on this? I think it's gonna bring the value down here. But
No, no, no.
it is so crazy though. It's so nice when you go out and you can see the true the true community that's out there, that's not online just bashing you or whatever it is. And it's like, oh man, like we have this like crazy impact on these people, and
Or
it's just
even
mind
just
blowing.
the people that come back, and they come back with their
Oh
families, and
yeah.
now, like you said, with the Munsters, I'm meeting their kids, and
Yeah.
it's been cool. It's been
Yeah.
a really, yeah, it's been mind blowing. It's just a community that, I'm glad they have these venues for people to come to. It's great.
Yeah. Now you seem pretty like whatever, I'm trying to think of the quote, whatever comes may come, something like that. But you seem very like, I'm just here for this. Are there any like directors or types of movies you want to work with or do next? Is there something that's like, I want to do this before I'm
I don't have, like, if
no.
there's a good script, I'm open for anything from comedy to sci-fi, horror, whatever. I'm drawn to crime shows lately, so there was something, I was kinda scouting out today, actually,
Oh,
on
cool.
this location. I'm always open for, like, a great script, cool cast, and a director, and, I'm down for it.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. I hope the next one comes along. If not, I'll
Yeah.
do it myself. I'll just get my
That's
group
awesome.
of people and we'll make something,
Yeah,
because that's
exactly.
what you gotta do, and if you're waiting for anybody to shell out money, or some corporation to decide this was, the flavor of the month, it's not gonna happen. You might as
I
well just
think we're
do it.
I think we're coming full circle to that being a thing again. I'm hoping, because it feels like there's just as many opportunities as there are in the streaming world. There's so much restriction and red tape, and I just hope we get to a point where people start really being like, I'm just gonna make whatever the fuck I feel like, and I think that's the kind of stuff that's landing now more and
Yeah.
more. I think we're seeing that more and more. So,
And like you said,
um,
that's what Rob Zombie always did. He makes stuff that he'd wanna see.
yeah, yeah. Um, oh, I was gonna say, I forget what. Okay. Anyway. Oh, what are you watching, right? Are you, are you watching anything? You just mentioned the crime shows. Is there anything you watch?
Uh Oh, I mean, last night I think I watched Mobland or whatever, Tom Hardy.
Oh, do you like that?
I like London, and I like Tom Hardy. I think he's cool.
Yeah. Oh, is
Um,
he in that?
yeah, yeah, he's a
Oh,
lead.
I gotta check that
Helen
out.
Mirren's in it, Pierce Bronson. But
Oh shit.
if you're talking about a show I just watched, that The Studio. That's on
Oh,
Apple TV.
that show is so killer.
Yeah,
I've been
and the guy
begging
that
producer
was
Lexi to watch it.
yeah, and my the guy who was in the Chupacabra costume and played a couple characters in Kirsten Baja. He played the biker in that with the tattoo on his hand. I didn't
Yeah,
even
yeah,
know
yeah.
I didn't even know he was in it. I was like, "Hey, there's Aaron." And he's super talented guy. And I worked with him. I met him years ago. Had to be like 15 years ago, maybe 10. We were in the back seat. We were part of Dwayne Johnson's. We were doing a bank heist in a movie called Faster. And
Okay.
and he's the getaway driver. And it was one of his first serious roles. He was breaking in. I think he did the Tooth Fairy or something before
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I didn't realize how big he was, but he was a super cool guy. Very
That's awesome.
quiet, really low key. And Billy Bob Thornton was in it, and all these cool actors, character people. And there was a situation that I had brought some stuff for the director. His kid was having a charity event or something, and I brought a bunch of signed Geico Caveman stuff
Oh
for his
yeah.
charity thing. And I'd spent a week with Dwayne, and he was very quiet, and he was in the car. We're in a tiny car together, and nobody really talked that much, and we were
Yeah.
shooting. And he goes, "What's that?" And this is the last day I was just dropping it off. And I go, "Oh, I do this other thing." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, I do this the caveman thing." And he got so excited. He goes, "You're the Geico Caveman." And then we exchanged numbers, and he would text me when he'd see me on TV. I'm watching the Caveman. It's just, and that was one of those moments. It just blew me away. Like, wow, I guess people really dig this thing.
Yeah.
But Aaron, the guy from that show, it's my chupacabra, was sitting next to me in the back of the seat. So I
Wow.
roped him into doing this movie, Kirsten
That's
Baja,
awesome.
and
That's
Amazon,
I was
Google
gonna
Plus,
say, and
Tubi,
physical media.
and
Where can
physical Anchor Bay. They've come through, and they understand. They have like a small group of like genre films and quirky movies and eccentric. And so these guys are they're trying to relaunch it and make cool stuff. So yeah, they've
That's
been
awesome.
really good about putting the DVD and Blu-ray together, and so that's been fun. And
Yeah,
they're
that's
very
cool.
supportive of these screenings and stuff.
Yeah. Is there a specific spot people should watch it that's better for you?
Oh, I don't know. You just
Doesn't
watch it.
matter.
Yeah,
Okay.
at this point, like I yeah, just watch it. I'm
It's
proud of what we pulled off. We did
yeah,
it
it's awesome.
on a shoestring, and a lot of people came through, and Rob came through, and he let me use a song in it. There's a little, a moment, couple moments in it. Everybody just helped out, and we pulled it together. So yeah, I'm very proud that what we have, and we did a screening the other night, and I think a lot of people were surprised that didn't see it. They couldn't believe it was so thought out and well done, and everybody.
It was great.
I have a lot of talented friends. I can't take the credit. A lot of these guys are great. The soundtrack's amazing too. This guy, he goes by Vaal, Val, and he's a really talented. You could follow him on Instagram, and you just see he's just this music uh, mad scientist making these sounds. He's extremely talented.
Oh,
And
that's so
yeah,
cool.
there's just a bunch of people, the editor, the DP, everybody just came in and jumped in, and it was yeah, it was cool. It takes a lot out of you, and it's probably not gonna be that financially rewarding, but it was rewarding. It just kept my sanity, especially through the
Yeah.
strike, I was editing the whole
Oh yeah.
time, and so
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's a
All
good
right. So we
strength.
always end our thing with some rapid fire questions that aren't so rapid because I usually just start talking.
Yeah.
So, favorite horror movie monster?
Oh. I don't know. Um I mean, as a kid, I really liked the Wolfman, I guess, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wolfman's great.
Frankenstein was cool, but I dug the Wolfman. And
Wolfman's
Lon Chaney in
the
general.
choice.
And Lon Chaney in
Wolfman
general, just based, yeah.
of the monsters, Wolfman's for sure the one. Uh uh do you have like a guilty pleasure movie from I don't really like the word guilty
Yeah, I don't
pleasure,
I
but
don't either. I don't know what that
I don't
means.
love it, but what would surprise people as like one of your favorite movies?
I
You don't have
don't
a
think I have
rom-com in
that.
there?
I don't really have that.
Rom-coms?
I'm pretty straightforward, and I don't watch the Wives of Beverly Hills, or I don't watch a lot of the reality shows.
Shocking.
I don't watch a lot of rom-coms. I don't watch a lot of musicals. I don't know. Don't have a guilty pleasure.
Fa
Sorry.
Favorite movie snack? What do
Popcorn.
you
Oh,
s
popcorn.
popcorn?
Just leave it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, this one, producer Lexi was like, "Don't ask him that," but I felt I'm gonna ask it, and it's gonna be a reoccurring question because I actually became curious because I was like, "How does Jeff Daniel Phillips take his coffee?"
I don't drink coffee.
Don't I knew you were gonna say it. I knew you were gonna say it.
This is
It's
iced
a
tea. This is iced tea. I drink
ooh, iced tea, sweet or unsweet?
usually not sweet.
That's a good move. That's a good
Any
move.
kind of
My
iced
family's from the
tea,
South,
black,
so I was a
green,
yeah. Oh, green tea.
both. Any tea.
Okay.
I just drink it cold.
Okay. My family's from the South, so I was raised on sweet tea,
Yeah, yeah.
and
It's hard not to get it sweet in the South. I can tell you.
it's really hard. It's really
They look
hard.
at you like you're from another planet.
So iced tea in the morning. That's how you start your day.
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay. All right. That's you know,
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
try it tomorrow. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try it tomorrow. Might
you
go
don't
out good.
have to try it. That's just yeah.
Best advice you ever received about filmmaking?
Um, I don't know if I ever got it, but it's basically just start. Just be realistic, make a list, and make it. Just start making it.
Yeah.
There's such great. You could do it with your phone. You could do it with anything. You just start making them.
Yeah.
So I guess don't wait.
That's I think that's the biggest thing. Don't get hung up on stuff and just
No,
start making it.
just start.
That's cool. And then producer Lexi's question that I have to ask, who directed Poltergeist?
Whether it's Hoofer or Spielberg, you mean?
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know what answer she wants people to say. I can't remember. I know she has a hard stance on it. I'll have to bring
Well,
it up afterwards, but
she has a Jurassic Park shirt, so isn't she a big Spielberg?
she is a Spielberg person, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But she also takes weird stances on things, so I feel like she's gonna come on. She's gonna scream at me at this recording. She's gonna come on here and be like, "You are an asshole."
No, I mean, he obviously brought Toby Hooper for a reason. He knew it was going to be like a dark ride.
Yeah,
And
oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say my thought is like, you're working for Spielberg. Like, I feel like if Spielberg's like, "Hey, use this blue lighting that I use all the time," you're gonna be like, "All right." Like, I think I'm gonna take this guy's advice. Like,
Yeah,
like
but
I feel
it's
like
also
that's the thing.
maybe he wanted to just hide behind his name so he could
Yeah.
do something that was a little scarier and ET.
That that's true. Oh, so now you're taking that stance.
Yeah, so maybe he had a bigger influence than we ever imagined. Maybe maybe Hooper was the disguise that he
The
needed.
disguise, the wig.
Because how many times has he done anything really dark like that? I mean, you could say Schindler's List. You could say he stays away from the really scary, dark stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, I would think so. I'm sure Lexi's in her mind about something thinking about right. She's gonna be like, "What the?"
No,
Uh,
I'm not a historian on Spielberg. That's for sure. I'm not. I don't know.
no, yeah. I mean, to me, dude, Poltergeist is so visually. I mean, as visually as it is Steven Spielberg, I could, like you're saying, I could see somebody being in his ear being like, "You can't fucking make this thing. Like,
Yeah,
we need you to make ET. Like, don't ruin your your image, your family image with this flick." But
maybe who knows?
who
And
knows?
that was his company, right? It wasn't a
Yeah.
so maybe. Yeah, I don't know. There was that whole time period kind of blurs with me, like Altered States and like all those kind of
Oh yeah.
movies. I just remember like a certain feeling coming out of those movies as a kid, going, you know, just trying to mess with suburbia or some,
Yeah.
the normal family and like put them through the
Yeah, I guess
mill.
that's what it was, right? I, I don't know what the 80s were a weird time.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right, Jeff. Thank you so much for coming on. Again, you guys can find Kirsten Baja on all the streaming
Yeah,
platforms.
Amazon, Google Plus, Anchor Bay, DVD, Blu-ray, Tubi. It's on Tubi now. If you want to watch
Yep.
commercials, I hear it went up last week, so it's cool. I'm
Yeah.
just happy
Yeah.
people are seeing it, and I'm getting good responses, and that screening was really rewarding because we were helping this place that burnt down, and a
Oh,
great
that's cool.
great group of people turned out, and so yeah, it was really this whole thing has been rewarding, and it makes me want to do it again. I'd
Oh.
like to get the money to do like at least try to raise some more money, so
Yeah.
everybody isn't just yeah, I'd like to support everybody at the same time too. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna be out in LA, I think kind of soon. We're doing something with the LA Film School, so
oh,
might
that's
reach
good.
out to you. Yeah, we might reach out to you and see we're gonna reach out to Trost too, so might have to reach out to you and see what you're up
He's a
to.
great guy. I'd
Yeah.
chill with him too for sure.
Yeah.
I really like him, and the fact that he's doing these kids movies right now, it's kind of funny too.
So cool, so cool. We talked about a lot about that because of that what is it? The Acme versus Coyote movie they
Yeah.
did and it got shelved and I at the time it hadn't been cuz now they're saying it is going to come out. But at the time he was like, "Oh man, it was so." And I had been reading about it and I was like, "This is such a genius concept. Like I'm so excited for this." And he's like, "Yeah, it got shelved." And so I'm excited for him to have that come out now.
Well, he's been doing. If you look at his resume,
Yeah.
it's amazing, and he started at a young age,
Yep.
and just constant producing and making stuff, and I went to somebody's house. They had an outdoor screening, and it was MacGruber, and
Oh my god, it's so good.
and all of a sudden he shows up in it. I don't know if you know that,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't want to give away the moment, but I was just like, "My God, Brandon, you're amazing, man." He's just like this cultural icon, that guy. He's
And his
fun.
sister's really cool too. His sister,
Super cool. The brothers too, like, they grew
yeah,
up in the industry. The father was a special effects,
yeah,
guy, so, like, they've seen it all, but yeah, they're just a great group of, like, industry carnies, you know what I mean? They just go
yeah,
from project to the next.
and so down to earth at the same
So down to
time.
earth, and
Yeah,
his wife's
it's so
super
cool.
sweet too. His wife, little, FYI, she did a documentary of behind the scenes in the Lords of Salem. She was shooting footage the whole time,
Oh, that's cool.
Mimi,
That's
and,
cool.
I don't it never came out, but
Oh, that's
there's
a
footage.
bummer.
No, yeah, maybe someday it will, but
I hope
yeah.
I hope it does because from what I heard,
I
it's
don't
like
know.
a chaotic
I'm
thing.
just I shouldn't even said it, but she was there, and that's how I met her, and she was shooting stuff, and he's they're just a great family.
Yeah, that's cool. Well,
And it was funny. Her She grew up in this town that my mother lives in Chicago,
oh,
and when Lords of Salem came out, it was at theaters, and you can imagine this suburb of Chicago, way out in the middle of nowhere, and the lights come up, and there's two sets of old people there. You know, I think my mom was probably in her 70s and her mom was probably late 60s, 70, whatever it was. And they're like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" And my son-in-law shot it. Well, my son was in it. Like, it was just like,
that's
how
so
random
cool.
is that, man?
Yeah. Wait, what
Crazy.
suburb is it? I have some
That
friends
they
out there.
saw it in a movie theater in Barrington, Illinois,
Okay,
which even stranger is where Bill Moseley grew up.
that's 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 a weird coincidence.
It's
I
super weird. I didn't grow up there. It was a little further out from where I grew up. I grew up where the airport is, like Des Plaines. But
okay.
the fact that my mother, her mother, like like that little crazy Barrington town draws a lot of strangeness, I think.
Yeah, I had some friends from Evanston, And,
Yeah,
like,
that's
Tina
that
Fey
yeah.
came out of there, and, like, it seems like those suburbs are just, like, a little bit of, like, a weird
Well,
little hub.
yeah, and all those, Hughes movie,
Oh, yeah.
all those movies were shot around there, and Risky
The John Hughes,
Business,
yeah.
and, and Sean Penn one, what was it when he went to jail, and, like, all those, you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm
What's it
was that a
called?
was that
He's a kid that goes into jail, or, and he's
was it
with
Bad Boys?
Bad Boys,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bad Boys, and, like, all those movies were in Chicago, and you'd hear about this stuff, and then I'd meet a friend and go, "Yeah, I was an extra in Bad Boys." I go, "Really?" And Clancy Brown was the villain, one of the villains.
Oh.
You know Clancy Brown?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He's one of the
Uh,
bad boys in the Bad Boy movie. I don't know, it's
fucking
cool, like,
Uncle
it was a weird time, like, all those movies were being shot in Chicago, Uncle Buck or Home Alone or whatever, there
Oh,
a lot of Chicago stuff.
dude, Uncle Buck. Clancy
Although
Brown.
was Home Alone in Chicago? I think it was.
Yeah, well, it definitely took place in Chicago, so I imagine they shot it there.
Yeah, and a lot of what's the other one? 16 Candles, and
Yeah,
the Molly
yeah.
Ringwald movie, and, all those things.
Clancy Brown has had quite the career also. Another
Yeah, no, he's amazing, and the fact
yeah.
that he still shows up, he showed up in some TV show I was watching, and he was like the mafia don
He
of some
a
group.
Penguin.
Yeah, right.
He was in Penguin. He was fucking great.
What a great
He
career that guy, and I heard him in an interview. What a humble dude. He's just and he was in that show, Carnival.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, 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 on
he was
HBO, yeah.
great. He was great.
Yeah.
Bill Moseley was in that too, actually. I
Was he
forgot.
really?
Yeah,
That's another guy that you just, like, when you look at it and you're like, "Holy shit," like, he's
yeah.
just
There's a
everywhere.
Yeah, Carnival, that was a funky one. I dug that. Anyway,
Carnival, yeah.
we could
Yeah, he was
ramble on forever.
all right, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it so much, really. This was really great.
Yeah, well, thank
Appreciate talking
you. Thanks to Lexi for putting this together.
setting it up. Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah,
her. I appreciate her a lot. She's
yeah,
great. So,
yeah.
all right, man. Thank you so much.
All right, Kirsten Baja, I hope you guys see it.